thank you to our listeners and our viewers joining us today on the Good Enough Mompreneur podcast. I have a question for you. What if pausing isn't falling behind, but the very thing that creates the clarity, confidence, and aligned growth that we're all striving for? Today, I am so thrilled to welcome my guest, Karen Bartholomew, who is the founder of the Pause Method, which helps women entrepreneurs do just that. Take a pause, take reflective time to help us grow personally and professionally. So, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to share this message.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about, but first, set the stage and take us back to that turning point, that moment where you started to question the hustle and the grind and the constant doing mindset, which, we can all, especially as moms, find ourselves in that
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of energy.
Yeah, I was a single mom of three children. And so I think it takes me back to 2010 where I just felt so burned out and so just tired of doing for everyone else. Because when we wake up in the morning at 6 a.m., it's like the kids and then it's work and then it's the kids and then it was just so much. And I know a lot of women in business can, with children, whether they're small or mine are adult children now I have grandkids, so it doesn't ever stop. But it was just at a point where I was just like, I feel like I'm doing for everyone else and I don't have a moment for myself. And I wanted to, one of my mentors was telling me, told me I was broken basically, and that I needed to fix myself before I could be really successful. And I was like, over time, when I realized something really powerful is, no, I'm not broken, and neither is anyone else. Basically, we make the mistake that brokenness is what it really is. It's not broken that we need to fix ourselves. It's just we're disconnected to who we really are, our true beingness, right? So why we're here, or the things that light us up, the things that bring us joy, and we're so busy doing for everyone else that I think we just exhaust ourselves, really burn out overnight. And in doing that, I slowly disappeared who I was. And then I'm just
Mhm.
exhausted all the time with no time for me. I mean, I didn't do any self care back then. I didn't even know what self care was, right? Get a massage or get your nails done, or I have a moment to read a book. I'm like, by the time I picked up the book, I got through one paragraph and I was falling asleep because I was so tired at night, right? So I think it really, for women entrepreneurs and moms and all of us, we're just so busy to just take the time to take a pause and just ask ourselves, what do we really want? What do we really want to design in 2026? And what do we want to leave behind? And then all kinds of different categories, right? Friends, there's some family members that maybe a little bit negativity. Some people are jealous of us. I mean, really taking a look at our life and taking inventory of everything and going, what do I want to hang on to and what do I need to let go of, right? So I can fill my cup with things of joy and things that I want to accomplish and things that I want to look into for myself. I mean, I know a lot of people that want to get into gardening, and I'm like, well, you don't have to wait till spring. You can start research gardening now and you actually can start planning stuff now and getting ready for it to blossom in the spring, right? So
Mhm.
it's just like ourselves. So I tell people that when I start coaching people, it's like what the airplane says to you when you get on the airplane, it's like put your oxygen mask on first such that you can help others. And
Yeah.
it's the same thing. If we're not taking care of us, our mind, our body, our soul, then how can we really be the best versions of ourselves and able to help each others that we love and care for?
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And actually, it's funny you mentioned that story about gardening. I saw a lady today with a whole cart full of plants, and I was like, hmm, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
It is like wintertime, and she was like all about doing something this time of year. But I know our listeners have heard self-care. They know that they need more time for themselves. But let's take a minute and really talk about what the cost is, because I don't think that we pay enough attention to what the real cost of overworking and burnout and really self abandonment is quietly doing to us.
Yeah, so overworking becomes an identity.
Yeah.
And if we really look at why we overwork ourselves, it's because we're avoiding something. There is
Mhm.
something we're avoiding in our life that we just feel like we need to stay on that hamster wheel all the time, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes outside sources are actually contributing to that, like perform, 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 right? So it just becomes who we are, and we get really numbness to actually replace it with joy.
Mhm.
So to take a moment, I remember my first time that I ever took a pause in my life was actually to walk to the mailbox, right? Because the mailbox was down the hill, and it took a few steps to get there. But it gave me a moment to just get out of the chaos and get out in nature and go, God, what do I want this day to look like? Like, what am I really designing for my life, right? And is it in tune with what I see and in alignment with who I truly am? And sometimes what we need to do is we get so stuck in the messages and so stuck in the stories and the beliefs that we bring to the table that when you really need to kind of like go back and unwind that, which is why I created the pause method. It's a 5-step course basically where you can actually go back when you get stuck or you get triggered about something and you have a reaction that, oh, I wish I wouldn't have reacted that way. To really stop and identify why that's all going on, right? And
Yeah.
kind of unravel that. And so living in reaction instead of intention, right?
Hmm.
Moms and women entrepreneurs, they lose themselves while holding it all together for everybody else, right? And
Yeah.
I want to help women really get back to their true essence of who they are and finding
Hmm.
joy every day in what they're doing, and maybe
Yeah.
pick up that hobby that you put down because there was no time last season. Well, maybe we can craft a time in there for you this season, right? That will
Right.
bring you a little bit more joy. And what happens is when we start working on ourselves and when we journey, take ourselves on a journey, which is what I did because I got to go sick of myself of where I
Right.
was. It just happens that the world around us, it looks different. It's a different set of lenses that we're looking through, and we see
Hmm.
the world very differently. It's like when you're in
Hmm.
a lot of pain, right? Whether it's physical pain or mental, whatever kind of pain it is, we see the world very differently. And when the pain actually goes away, then all of a sudden it's like, wow, I can see colors again. The sky's a little bluer, right? The chaos isn't so much chaos anymore, right? But when we're in that constant struggle of tension and non-joy, it doesn't bring vitality to us. What it does the opposite. It actually works on our bodies, the stress, and everyone has heard that stress actually, stress is a killer. But what happens is the stress becomes something in your body, and then vitality is not there.
Right.
So if
Right.
you want vitality, we really got to figure out what's the disease that's happening inside of us, right?
Hmm.
Such that we can heal ourselves and have true vitality.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are many listeners, and I used to be one of those, and it's something I have to be intentional about, as you mentioned. And it can be really uncomfortable to take that pause. So, can
Mm.
you talk to those listeners who are going, I have tried, but I can't do it. It does not feel comfortable. It doesn't feel like something I want to do. So, why might somebody be having that reaction?
Well, because pauses are really scary. They can be really, really scary because people think that you take a pause and all of a sudden I have to go back and I have to unravel something that was really hard for me and I don't want to go there, right? And
Right.
so it can be scary. But it doesn't have to be scary. So there's a couple questions you can ask yourself, right? When it's like, oh, I just need 10 minutes, right? And so just to ask yourself, what do I want? Who do I want to be today? So let me go back. Let me take your question a little bit deeper. The reason why people don't want to pause is because of fear. Okay. So if we talk about fear, where does fear come from? Well, first of all, fear comes from our past. It's something that we actually, I call it our library, our library of history, right? Fear comes, something pops up, it triggers us, and we automatically will take something from the past and bring it forward and say, oh my God, I know what this is. I know what's going to happen. I have a story about it, right? And I'm not going to be okay. And so it's fear, and so it stops you. So it's the same thing with people that have a hard time taking a pause, right? No, I know what a pause is. I did that before. It didn't work out. I'm not going to be okay. So nope, not going to do that. I'm just going to get on the hamster wheel. I'm going to stay on it. I'm going to stay on it and stay on it. I'm never going to get off. Okay. Well, how's that showing up for you?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, what we want to do is really take that pause and go, okay, what is going on there, right? Let's unravel that a little bit and figure out what's happening there because really, it was just a story we made up in our past that we decided to bring forward. And lots of
Hmm.
people will hold on to those stories for decades,
Yeah.
right? I held on to a story from my past that I didn't matter.
Hmm.
And so, of
Yeah.
course, I held on to it so tightly that my mind decided that I was going to attract people
Hmm.
based on what I was resisting, right?
Yeah.
So if I say I didn't matter, then I was attracting relationships that people didn't care, really,
Hmm.
right? They were just in it for whatever their agenda was and they really didn't really care about me, right? I was attracting bosses. I mean, all that stuff that I was attracting because that was my truth. And my brain wanted me for survival mechanisms to be so comfortable. That's my truth. That's where I'm going to stay. But you asked the question, what does it cost us? Well, it costs us a great deal to not have freedom from that because we're really living in a lie,
Yeah.
right? Because if I was to ask you today, if a woman was to tell me that she didn't feel safe in her past because of trauma or whatever happened, right? I would say, well, that we can go back there and look at all that evidence, right? And
Hmm.
bring it forward and have fear. But if we really thought about today, are you really safe today? Or are you holding on to something that you created a story about, rightly so,
Hmm.
and you've brought forward, but it doesn't match what's happening today. So really, it's not truth, right? It's
Hmm.
really a lie in today's world.
Hmm.
So if that's true, right? It's kind of like if you meet somebody. This is so funny. You have family members. They've known you forever. They know all your history and everything, right? And we all have been around our families in the last couple of weeks, right? And it's some of it's been very awkward. I mean, but then you get on a plane, you talk to a perfect stranger, and you're like telling them the world, right? Well, so what happens is there's no history with that new person.
Hmm.
So you get to show up just as you, right? Where you showed up over here being something for someone else or doing for everyone else, and then you never got to be you, right? But then over here you meet somebody, so it's this history and the accumulation of hurt and all these things. Because when we came into the world, we were precious babies, and somewhere along the line, we decided that we weren't precious anymore because of our conditioning and our history. But what
Hmm.
I would like to introduce to people is we can actually break that cycle and start living today in joy and intention and clarity if
Hmm.
we're just willing to take a pause and unravel a little bit of it to understand it so we don't bring it forward.
Hmm. Yeah, I think you said a few really powerful things, and I think it's so important to look at our fear that is driving us to be more reactive and not be able to take a pause as a messenger and to cultivate curiosity about that. Why is it that you can't take a pause, or what is driving your fear around certain things in your life or your business? But also, I think it's so powerful too when you mention freedom from that, because so many moms who are listening have created their businesses for more freedom and don't
Mm.
realize that there is this whole other layer of freedom beyond what you're doing in your business that we really, it's this whole other level of living that I think is just it's just something you just don't understand until you start on this journey. So I love that. So so talk about what is so often driving the burnout.
Well, I mean, I can give you a couple examples. If you had, growing up, if you may have had a parent that was all about performance, right? Or something happened in your childhood that you decided you were going to be the perfect child. because something happened and it wasn't good. And so, not to be bad, I'm always going to be good, I'm going to be perfect, I'm going to get straight A's, I'm da 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 da. But doing all of that can be exhausting. And so now what happens if when people don't know who they are anymore because they're living for someone else all the time. So you go out
Right.
into the world and you're still doing that, right? And then you pick the
Yeah.
bosses that have you working 80 hours a week or whatever it is. And then you're more exhausted and you're more exhausted. And so you see how a story, we have such great imaginations, right?
Yeah.
So the words that we chose and we put them together as a story of something that happened to us, right?
Hmm.
And then we bring it into the adult world, right? And then we're still want to be high, perform, 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 and we got burnout,
Yep.
right? So the same thing happens over here. It's like, I mean, I can pick many, many things. If you're a child that didn't feel wanted as a small
Mm.
child,
Hmm.
just because your parents worked all the time, or whatever the story
Hmm.
was that you made up wasn't enough,
Yeah.
or I didn't wasn't wanted, or whatever it is, right? And then you go out in the world to do that. Well, then now you don't even try to get into relationships because you created a story that you weren't wanted. Well, that's not true. I mean, you're an adult now, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so things have happened, and there's all
Right.
kinds of evidence around you that you are wanted. You have good friends, right? And you might, whatever it is, right? So to really unravel that stuff, to take the first step of taking a pause and really like finding out what the pattern is that you're bringing forward into your adult world, right? That's keeping you on this hamster wheel. But really, there's got to be enough pain for you want to take the pause.
Right.
So you asked the question, some people don't want to take the pause. Well, there's not enough
Mm.
pain yet, right? They're just
Right.
status quo, doing just fine. No big
Mm.
deal. I'm doing fine.
Hmm.
And it's become so normal that they really didn't even know that there's a problem. So I can give you
Yeah.
an example of me. I'm like, I literally was dehydrated for 10 years of my life. I didn't know I was dehydrated. Had no idea. It was my norm. I never drank water. So I drank coffee, but that dehydrates you even more. And so what happened was I got really sick down the road and I had to drink water for my health. And then all of a sudden I started feeling really, really well. So then that became my normal. But I didn't notice the difference because somebody told me to do it and I just got on the wheel and I just did what I was told to do, right? But what happened was I got sick again and I stopped drinking water one day. It was just one I just was like I don't know what happened, but I was sick, whatever, I was stressed and I created this non dis-ease in my body. And what happened was one day and I'm like, I know what that is. I'm dehydrated, went and got the water. Because I knew now what dehydration was because I had gone over to the other side.
Mm.
But I would never have known that. I would have just still
Right.
been a dehydrated woman. So it's become such a norm for people. I was on that on paper, so successful, just doing, and just grinding. It felt great because of all the accolades I was getting and da 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 da, and the trips I was going on because of it, and all these things in the corporate world. However, I was burned out,
Yeah. I'm sure
burned out.
every overachiever listening right now can identify with so many things you just said.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's a great example. And it's about learning a new way and of living. So talk to us about the pause method and what it is and why you created it and how it's different than some of the other ways that we can take care of ourselves.
yeah. So the first, there's five pieces of it, and I literally just the pause. I just did the letters in the beginning to make it easy for people to remember. And so the first part is really to notice the thought that you're having. If you get triggered or something's, oh, why do I keep doing that? Why do I keep doing the same thing? I say I don't want that, but then I did it again, right? We've all been there. I remember when I would get a new boyfriend, and I'm like, I'm not going to get a guy like that. And then I got the guy again. I'm like, ugh, why do I keep doing the same thing? So it's a pattern, right? And so to
Mhm.
notice the thought and catch it in real time to say, ooh, I have to do, can I reset that? What's going on? Where is that coming from? And sometimes you got to go back a little further and go, let me, and the question I always ask my clients is, when do you first remember that happening?
Mm.
Because it usually will stem back to something at 8, 9, 12 years old, somewhere in there, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then do you remember how it felt as a small child? And then something will come up for them, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so we're really going, and then we look at that and go, what is it? We unravel that a little bit, and not with any judgment or opinion, or we're just unraveling something. It's kind of like doing, sometimes I have people do a timeline, right? Where write down everything you can remember from as far back as you can. Use markers, put some fun music on, just write all over a big old post-it notes, the big ones. I had plastered, when I did, I had it plastered all over my walls and my dining room table. And I got to see my life. And every
Mm-hmm.
7 years, I felt loved and not loved and loved and not loved. Something happened. Something happened. And so being able to see that and go, wow, now I can see why I didn't feel like I mattered. Again, that was a story I told myself. There were times that I didn't feel loved when I was a small child. Something I told myself because of something happened. I just asked my dad not long ago, Dad, we never heard that you never said I love you in the house, right? And he's like, well, my parents didn't either, but we just felt that you knew we loved you. We were taking care of you, and had a happy family and stuff. And I'm like, but that's not how it is now, right? We have all that too, but I tell my kids I love them all the time. I don't even get off the phone without telling them I love them, right? And vice versa. But so I carry that all this forever, right? And then I carried the thing that the boys were the favorite, right? Or whatever that was as a small child, right? So I always want to go back and go with no judgment, just awareness of where that came from, right? Which is the first act of real freedom. Oh, okay, now I get that, right? And then actually acknowledge it with no pressure, no fear, no nothing. It just happened. This is what happened. Sometimes it's really bad stuff that happened. I had a lot of trauma in my world as a small child, right, that I had to get past. And there's no reason, you can't change it. It happened. It's in the past, right? However, acknowledging it that it happened, right, is really a big shift. Because then what you get to do is unwind it, right? If you can unwind it, and where did the story begin? How did I put that story together? Maybe as a child when you were praised only for your performance, right? Or when love felt really conditional. If I do this, then I'll get love, right? Right? And so you learned that doing that was safe, right? And not doing that meant danger. Well, that's not really truth, that's conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because if I asked you today, are you in danger? Right? If you were a child that didn't feel safe for yourself, if I asked you right now, are you in danger? You're like, I'm not in danger. So why do we live as if we are in danger? Right? So then what happens, because the strategy of thinking you're in danger all the time is actually to isolate yourself. And of course, then isolate yourself to your house, and you never go out of your house. And then you see how the anxiety pops in, all these different things pop in. You get dis-ease in your body. You're not at ease. Vitality. It's just this constant thing that unravels, right? But if we can unwind that and go, okay, what's realistic, and start shifting that to a new story, because our imaginations are so wild, right? Then we can actually shift into a new story, start living that new story, embodying it and practicing it, right? And eventually it gets easier and easier and easier.
Mm-hmm.
And so I take people through that whole thing.
That, yeah, I mean, that's a lot.
It is a lot.
I mean, it,
However,
yeah,
it is a lot. However, it doesn't happen all at once.
right.
I had a lady that I just took through this, and it was just, she wanted to work on a couple things.
Mm-hmm.
And in the process of all of it, right, was able to get back into dance and singing and being an actor, and she grieved her assistant who passed away from cancer, and she is in Vitality right now and doing amazing 8 months later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
I
I think
love that
it's just, if
you
you're stuck,
yeah,
if you really feel stuck
yeah.
in a space, it's just
Mm-hmm.
unwinding that stuckness to find some peace and some, if you didn't live there, let me ask this question. If you didn't live in that fear, and you lived in a place of truth that you are safe and you are enough, and you do have harmony and you do have peace in your life, how would you show up in the world?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big question to answer. And I love how you use the word vitality because I heard somebody say that purpose of our life is they always say do what makes you happy, what lights you up. That the purpose of our lives shouldn't be what makes us happy, but being the most alive.
Yeah.
And I think that vitality is that. It's the embodiment of being alive and full of passion. So talk to us about how doing that work that you described, it's so important, peeling back the onions. How does that lead to more aligned action? Your client that you mentioned who was able to work through the things that were blocking her and pursue new goals.
Well, I mean, through the coaching basically and giving people little challenges, right? So if you're scared of something, unraveling that, well, why am I scared of that, right? And then literally having a challenge to go out and do something to show you that the only thing that's stopping you is the story in your head
Mm-hmm.
of that you're not going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But is that really true? Because I'm at 63 years old, I've been through so much. I've done so much. I've had so much trauma and I've had so many failures. And I'm like, but I'm still okay. I'm still here.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
So, yes, I'm going to be okay. And so I just take all those things as lessons learned that got me a little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer of where I am today. But it
Mm-hmm.
did take me being really courageous.
Mm-hmm.
When I quit my last job before I became a speaker and a coach, I literally went in and gave myself 3 minutes to resign. And it wasn't a nice 3 minutes, but I got through it. And then I literally turned my phone off and I went to a cabin for 5 days by a creek and I just literally wrote out my next year of what I wanted to design for myself, away from the
Mm-hmm.
chaos and away from the negativity and away from all that stuff. And which is why I'm here today. And my kids were the ones that said, Mom, why do you stop coaching for everybody else? Just do it yourself. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, that's a brilliant idea, people. Right? And so
Yeah.
sometimes the noise, the chaotic noise, if you could just take a pause long enough to listen to yourself, there's so much inspiration and brilliance and
Mm-hmm.
joy and amazement inside each of one of us,
Mm-hmm.
but we're just not listening.
Right. Yeah, that is so true. So I'd love to talk to you, and you mentioned this a minute ago about being reactive versus intentional. And we can also do that in our businesses where we're being reactive about instead of doing something that's aligned for us, whether we feel pressure to, oh, I have to put out this Black Friday offer, or I have to create this course, or I think, especially as new entrepreneurs, it's like drinking from a fire hose. You're getting
Yeah.
all of these messages about what you should be doing. So, can you speak to those listeners who are what they're getting wrong about taking the aligned action that they need to take to keep the momentum going in their businesses and maintain that consistency that they're wanting as well?
Well, when it comes to business, what I'll say is putting systems together and processes is what got my business to a million plus. Without that, I was a chaotic mess.
Mm,
I had to have structure, right? And I'm really, really, very, very, really good at time blocking. So everything is time blocked, and so it's all color coded. It's like this is what I'm doing today. I know people that I coach that no matter how many times we do time blocking, they never stick to the time blocking, and they're still chaotic. And so
mm,
what I take from that is they like the chaos. But some people
mm,
just like the chaos, right? It's
mhm,
comfortable to be in chaos. And
mhm,
so, but if you can put a system together, if you can put a system together for everything and a process for everything, right? It's like I've been in the mortgage business for 20 years and we have a system for everything that we do. Like when I talk to somebody and I hand them off to my loan partner, she's the one that actually will take a loan app, take just basic information, right, from them. And make sure that it's all there, make sure all the documents are there. That's her lane that she stays in, right? And she has certain things that she says and make sure that she asks the right questions and whatnot. And then it gets handed off to the processor, right? So, I mean, but it's a system. If she didn't hand it off, then we'd be stuck. Because I told people we'll have things done in 48 hours. Well, if she held on to it, then that clock is ticking, right? And then I'm going to get all crazy nervous, right? But there's a system for that, right? It's like when someone gets pre-approved, we send them something in the mail. There's a system. She has a system to do all that stuff. Then I never have to worry about it, right? Instead of me going, oh, did I do that, or did I do that, or did I do that? At the end of the day, my team has a system where they send me an email on everything that was accomplished that day and some things that got delayed, right? And if there's something in there that got delayed that I want to handle before the morning, then I can handle it. Or I'm like, nope, that's fine. I can wait till tomorrow. Right. So, I mean, it's just a system. So I would say for new entrepreneurs, you really have to have some systems, and your calendar is going to be key. I try not to have a lot of white space in the 5 hours I work every day, because I'm just like, I'm in meetings, I'm in Zoom meetings, I'm out, I'm like, I'm doing my thing. But I know that 5 hours is max for me. If I go more than 5 hours now at my age, I get burned out and then I feel exhausted again. So I've learned what that is. I'm like, that's my stopping point. I work from 10 to 3, typically. I have my mornings that I do. I work out, I play with my dog, I have my coffee, I have my meditation, I read 10 pages in a book. I'm like, I do the same thing every morning. And then I'm in the office here at 10 o'clock. And so, and by 4 o'clock, if I happen to work an extra hour, I still feel that I have my evening to myself where I can close it off, shut the door, and I can go be with family or do what I want to do away from work. And that works for me. And so I think everybody has to figure out what works for them. When I had small children, that didn't work. It was up at 6, making everything happen, out the door by 8, school, work, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we all have to really listen to our mind, our bodies, and our souls of what do we need. So I think some people just have to start, okay, so can I just pause for a moment? And some of my CEOs and CFOs that work at their office, they just kind of like shut their door and nobody knows they're in there. Some of them actually get under the desk and I'm just going to chill out for 10 minutes, right? And just ask yourself, what do I need for the next 2 hours? Do I need some water? Do I need to nourish myself? Do I need to grab a handful of peanuts? Do I need to go for a walk around the corner just to get a little more oxygen in my body? Whatever it is for you, everybody is a unique human being, and we just have to ask our own questions and get in line with what we need so we can be the best version of ourselves, because we are a different version today than we were yesterday, and hopefully a better version moving forward every day, right?
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is keeping that momentum and consistency. What is really key is planning ahead and creating those systems and also knowing yourself, getting to know
Yeah.
yourself. And that's why doing that inner work that you talked about, I think is just such a key element in that, getting connected with yourself. Well, I don't know about you, but 2025 has been such a year of transition. My oldest
Yeah.
daughter graduated. We moved to a
Ah,
new
congrats.
house. I mean, it just everything. It was like almost instantly from early 2025, my life was in a snow globe. So I'm sure that there are listeners going through transitions right now. I mean, I've had to get comfortable with slowing down and just enjoying the moment and maybe just not having my foot on the gas so much
Yeah.
this year. And so talk to our listeners about pausing in those shifts of their life, whether it's they have to make a change in their business or their identity shifts that happen so often as your business evolves, or maybe you're just starting a business and you're dealing with that identity shift, or maybe even you're just redefining what success looks for you. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so key to really take the time to listen to yourself and literally get away from the noise. If you're just spinning on the hamster wheel, you're never going to take the time to do that. But if you really don't like going to work in the morning, then it's time to really take a look at that. Are you in the right job?
Mhm. Yeah.
If you don't like, I mean, there was a time that I could not live in my neighborhood anymore. And I'm like, I need to sell
Mm.
my house. And
Yeah.
then later I'm like, did I do the right thing? But yes, I did. because it was the right thing for me to do at that moment in time. Now I'm in North Carolina, right? And I'm going back to California for 6 months because my
Mm.
youngest daughter's having a baby. So I'm like, okay, it's time for me to leave California because I'm kind of done here in North Carolina because I'm done here. It's time for me to go back because that's what most of my
Mm.
business is anyway. But now I'm going to
Mm.
start doing back coffee room meetups basically, and I'm
Mm.
going to start touring a little bit. So on the West Coast, I'm talking about this. But here's what I want women, especially, to hear. Remember, we're not behind, we're not broken. You're not failing because you're tired. You've just been living in a world that taught us all to move really, really fast, right? Instead of listening deeper to ourselves
Mhm.
as women, especially, okay? And it's not about stopping life. The pause is not about stopping your life. It's about coming back to yourself. So the next step you take is rooted in your truth and not the fear of the unknown. Because the
Mm.
universe has been going on for a long time without us before we were ever born. We don't need to give it an agenda. It's just going to keep going, and we are going to be okay because we're okay
Right.
today. So it's going to be okay tomorrow, right? And we're all
Right.
going to die someday. And so we need to live our best lives, right?
Mm.
And here's a big word that I'd like to give everybody is permission, right? You don't
Mm.
need
Mm.
permission from the world to pause. You don't need some
Mm.
tragedy to pause, right?
Mm.
You don't need you all you need to remember is that you're already worthy of it. To take some time for yourself because everybody in your world benefits from it.
Yeah. Especially as mothers, it's like our children and our grandchildren, those that we interact with the most, just benefit so much from that.
Well, I'll tell you as a grandma, I have a 2-year-old grandson, an 8-year-old granddaughter, and a 12-year-old granddaughter, and a 14-year-old grandson. One of the beautiful things about being a grandma, and I didn't even notice this until I started playing with the 2-year-old actually more, is that watching my son watch me play with his son
Mm.
reminds him of how I was as a mother and how much I loved him. So just me taking time to get on the floor to play with my grandson brings
Right.
pure joy to my son that I didn't even know. And now he's going to have that memory because someday I won't be here, right?
Yeah.
So making those memories, right, that you can create that legacy, right? You're creating
Hmm.
legacy now, not so much later, but just to pause long enough to really
Hmm.
cherish the things that we have in our life
Yeah.
because we're not always going to have this stuff.
Hmm.
We all were born and we're all going to go bye-bye someday.
Yeah. No, and I love the reminder too that the work that we do on ourselves has a great ripple effect, not only in our lives, but those that we love the most. So it's so important. We're running up a little against time. So I'd love to ask you if there was a belief that you wish that every woman who was listening today would release, what would that be?
To release
Yeah, a belief that they have that is keeping them from living that fulfilled life that I believe your work is moving people towards.
human beings are all worthy of living a precious life. We're the only ones that are in our own way. Based on the words that we've turned into stories in our great imagination. And so I just want to encourage everybody to just dissect that. Is that really truth? Or is that a lie that you've just been carrying around?
Mhm.
Is there really peace and harmony, community, right? Vitality, right? All these things that we strive for. And if you have stress, if you have some stress, really tackle that. Where's that coming from? Wow, because that creates a lot of sickness in the world. So I just think anytime you get triggered, anytime you have a reaction that you just don't respond to, right? I mean, why? And you ask the question, it's like somebody could go into a restaurant and a husband and wife can have a little feud or something, and it really, really triggers somebody that's at another table to the point where one person might want to get up and have it stop, right? So
Mm,
why does one person want to have that stop? One person it doesn't affect at all, right? It's something in our history that we brought forward. But if
mhm,
you just really let people just be who they are, right, and just stay in touch with yourself,
mhm,
right? It just you're just more at peace, just by osmosis. I have some family members that I really didn't get along with very well, and I just got to the point where I'm like, what? I didn't live her life.
mm,
I didn't live her life. I didn't go to school with her. I didn't have the same friends. There's no way that I could understand all that was going on in her life. She did the best that she could, right? And I got to love her for the love that she gave me, right? But she's giving me love the way she knows how.
mm.
And I don't need to make up a story about what I'm what it is or what it isn't. It just is what it is. And people will grow as they want to grow within themselves. But sometimes it just has to be too much pain. That situation for me was a lot of pain, and I had to do something because that person wasn't going to do anything different. And I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out. I got to let this stuff go and just let people be who they are and whatever. And if they
Right.
don't want to respect my wishes or whatever it is, then sometimes I got to take an inventory of my friends and my family, and sometimes I got to just detour. Or maybe I need to spend a little less time, right? So what I
Mhm.
chose is I spend a little less time now. But
Right.
I don't spend time alone where there's
Mhm.
just air. Let's do something. So we're
Right.
busy.
Right.
And we can enjoy the time together that we're together,
Right.
right? So I just pivoted a little bit. It's a lot of pivoting, right? A lot of pivoting, a lot
Mhm.
of pivoting. And giving yourself a different story. And so you just feel more joy,
Right.
more vitality, peace, and harmony.
Yeah, and that's what I hear you saying. It's so much of that peace and joy that we want to see in the world starts with us, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have to do that inner work. It begins with us. We can't just complain about the world and not do the work ourselves.
Well, let me just tell you, if you're complaining about the world, you're actually looking for things outside of yourself to fix you. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
It's the opposite.
no,
It's the
exactly.
opposite. The love that
Exactly.
you may have in a relationship is really not because of that person. It's because how you are in relationship.
Mm,
Because you love the feeling of you in relationship. It's not that person, right?
mm,
I
mm.
just was in. I just was dating. Yeah, I've been dating now. 63 years old. It's been very interesting.
Would you look great for 63, I have to
Thank you.
say.
And I was dating somebody for a couple months, and I was very connected but not attached. And I loved after so long. I loved who I was in that dating. I loved how vulnerable I was. I took a risk. I loved all the things about it. And then it came to a sudden end, and I was okay with that too
Mm,
because I wasn't attached to that, right? It was kind of
mm,
more of I took it more of an experiment for myself, right? It's people who are emotional about money, right? But money is really not emotional. You attached something from the past and brought it forward and you made it emotional because it's
mm,
something that program or something that you're right. It's really not emotional. Once you take the emotion out of money, then there's all kinds of things we can do. It's just a game. So it's a
mm,
fun game. It's a game, the game of money or the game of life or the game of relation, whatever it is for you, right? When people go
mm.
on Match.com is just for you to figure out dating. Just go figure it out. It's like trying on clothes.
Yeah, you've given us so much to think about. You've given us so much permission. You've had so much insight today on how we can take that pause, do the inner work. And I think it's just so important to keep having that conversation because it's not a one and done. We're
We're
constantly
evolving humans.
evolving. So I love that. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. And please tell listeners where they can connect with you and learn more and be in your orbit.
Yeah, so you always can connect with me on Instagram, just Karen Bartholomew. And also my webpage is karenbartholomew.com. It's super easy. Where you'll find the pause method there, you'll find some courses, you'll find some free stuff in there, you'll find group coaching, what coach, all of it. You'll find it all. So check it out. And then also you can always DM me, instant message me through Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, I'm around.
It,
I'm
I
here
will
to
leave all
help.
those links too in show notes. So it's
Wonderful.
easy to connect. Thank you so much, Karen. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you.